Is the theme to the show. The show is all about you. Not you, but you and your stories. Because everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Brought to you by JeffSeltzer.com.
Hello and welcome to Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I am your host, Jeff Seltzer, and this is episode 66 of my own personal midlife crisis. First off, I want to start off with a real quick opening shout out. This weekend is a very, very special day, as every week I try to call out a different family member of buddy of mine, Marcus Perkal. This weekend is the 40th birthday or the 40th anniversary of being on this planet of Carrie Perkal. So Carrie, happy birthday if you're listening. Thanks for loaning me your husband for an hour here and loaning me your husband, I guess, for the week as well, upcoming in Las Vegas. Did want to get it through some really quick plugs. I'll drop something else also, and then I'll introduce my two, as always, amazing guests. So as always, if you want to follow the show on Instagram, you can check it out at Everybody Has a Story Pod. DM the show if you have any questions, if you want to be a guest, anything like that. The YouTube for the show is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can always email the show directly at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can always check me out at jeffseltzer.com. We have some cool content, as always, at everybodyhasastorypod.com. And as a reminder, please tell everybody, we are available on all podcast platforms. We are on video on YouTube and Spotify. We are audio on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Pandora. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you could probably find this one. So before introducing my guests, I did want to mention a couple of movies that I watched this week. So as you guys all know, I'm a huge movie buff. Love them. For me, it's personal therapy. I love just like watching it. Distracts me from life and stuff like that. So this past week, I did watch two movies. I saw the new Anaconda movie, which is now on Netflix. It's kind of like, I don't know, loosely a reboot or something of the old Anaconda movie from years and years ago with Ice Cube and Jennifer Lopez. I'd say avoid it. It's awful. It's on Netflix, so if you're bored, check it out. But I probably wouldn't if I were you. So use that however you'd like to. Additionally, I saw the new Mario Brothers movie, which I was really excited about. So I had seen the first Mario Brothers movie, I think, on Peacock years ago. And then the second one just hit theaters about a week and a half ago. This may not make any sense, but I'll say it was a very fun movie, but it was not a very good movie. So it had lots of great callbacks to video games. It was intriguing. It was cool. It had lots of cameos from video game characters. But from an overall perspective, it just wasn't good. The first movie was significantly better. So definitely check it out. And if you could find the old Captain Lou Albano one from like 40 years ago, maybe go find that one as well. With that said, I will introduce my guests for this week. I'd like to welcome back, as always. They both collectively have the most time on this podcast, excluding myself, as well as the most appearances. Marcus Perkal, I think, was I think you're the second person who's ever co-hosted the show. Mm-hmm. And Daniel's the only person besides myself who's ever hosted the show. So obviously I'm in great company here. So once again, I'd like to welcome Marcus Perkal and Daniel Ireland. Gentlemen, how are you?
Thanks again.
I'm well. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Sounds like we're having a party somewhere. Okay. It's a Marcus party. Gotcha. I guess the 40th birthday party at the Perkal house is going great right now, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're 2 days into celebrating, and we're going to continue through July when we are going to Las Vegas. So that's two trips to Vegas in just a couple months, like we'll be discussing in a second. So
very good. I mean, I'm sure probably to your wife, you told her that you're actually going to Vegas this week to scout out the area, find the awesome, venue, find the awesome events, and do all the cool stuff. So that way, when she's there, it's not a dress rehearsal. Like it truly is like the party, right?
Correct. Yeah. And this way, I'll do all the work now. So then when we go, she can just hang out and see the Backstreet Boys, and I'll pretend I did a lot of prep work on this trip. Nice.
So are you guys seeing the Backstreet Boys in July at the Sphere?
At the Sphere, yeah.
Oh, so jealous.
Nice.
I'll get in a little bit later about Daniel and my upcoming Sphere appearance, but the Backstreet Boys sounds amazing. Friend of the show, Shira, she saw the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere back in January, and she loved it. So super excited for you guys.
I will.
Go, Marcus.
Go for it, Daniel.
I thought he was going to say friend of the show, the Backstreet Boys there.
I think that Carrie and my going to see the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere was my tipping point in not joining you guys at the Sphere, which we'll be talking about shortly. We could blame her.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
It's her birthday week. It's her birthday weekend, so I'm not gonna blame her.
Blame her whatever we want. It's her birthday.
I'm not gonna blame her. I'll let her celebrate and have this weekend. Maybe next weekend on the post-Mania show we could blame her. But for now, we'll just kind of take it as it is. Daniel, it's always good to see you. I mean, I see you quite a bit in other, let's say, locations, but it's always good to see you virtually. How is it going today?
Well, thanks for having me back. It's been a while. I was getting a bit concerned that my performance as your host was excluding me from any future attendances. So.
I mean, I think what's happening was, and obviously keep me honest here, it sounds like your people are having some contractual issues. I think after you hosted a show, I think you guys were asking for too much. My people were like, that's more than we can give. I think I'm glad that we came to an agreement in the middle here, so we're in a good spot. Yeah,
for all the listeners, I never did receive the host T-shirt. Just to let everyone know that I was promised. So there's still hope in the future, I hope.
For all the listeners as well, this is a net zero income stream show. Daniel actually never requested one or sent out the purchase order for one, so I'm going to say we're both to blame for this one, so we can move on.
To be fair, Daniel hosted an episode, and shortly after, Jeff was so ashamed of how good Daniel's hosting was that the pod stopped being weekly. And then as a result, there's been less time for guests, which is the real reason that you haven't heard Daniel and I on your Spotify app as often as you used to.
I don't know. To quote Jesse the Body Ventura, let's not let the facts get in the way of a good story. So it happens. We'll see what happens. So, okay. So guys, we always tend to go long these episodes. So let's maybe get to the topics at hand right now. So we scheduled this a while ago for two different reasons. So number one, back in December, November or so, we submitted a number of sports cards, wrestling cards, etc., for PSA grading. And we said, hey, it would be a great idea if we could schedule a podcast for when the cards come back so we can reveal the grades. Now, the grading took a lot longer than usual. PSA's been doing what PSA does. So I think at least two of us, maybe all three of us, have seen our grades already at this point. But I think it'll still be fun, as Marcus hasn't seen Daniel's, Daniel hasn't seen Marcus's, and neither of you have seen mine, to just kind of show a couple of our favorite cards that we got back, and any overall observations from a grading perspective. And then later on, we'll get into our Vegas WrestleMania week plans, which, again, super excited. Obviously, today, this episode drops on Monday, April 13th. WrestleMania week, at least for myself and Daniel, officially starts tomorrow as we're flying out Tuesday night, and Marcus on Wednesday for all the Mania festivities. So starting with PSA. So Marcus, you had the least amount of cards, so I think it'll probably be easiest and cleanest to start off with some of yours. So do you want to kind of talk through any, I guess your mentality in terms of what cards you submitted, why you submitted them, and if you want to reveal any of the grades?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, if you're a frequent listener of this show when episodes are dropping, you've heard that my side hustle is selling wrestling cards. So I'm a little more strategic, with what I get graded. There's very little of what I've been sending out to get graded recently that's really for myself to keep. Most of it is for resale. So if I'm getting something graded I don't think has a high upside, I probably won't submit it. And also, I really do look at the cards and analyze them. I actually did use a magnifying glass this time. I wiped the cards down with a microfiber cloth. Like I'm really looking for 10s. Anything less than that right now, with how the market is just not worth the investment, with the exception of if it's a 1 of 1. And for those who are not privy, that means that all cards are serial numbered, and that there's cards that they make unlimited of them, or to 199 to 150, whatever the number is, and there's only one of them. So that, if you're getting that graded, in my opinion, and this is debated, but in my opinion, the grade doesn't matter so much. You're just preserving the card and protecting it. So that being said, I went with wrestlers who are either legends or were hot. Unfortunately, as Jeff said, it took a while to get these back. So one of them, I think, kind of fell off a little bit. But on the flip side, one of them, this guy is much more topical than he was when we first sent out. So that being said, I submitted 7 cards this time. Very happy with my grades. I will start off. I'll run through them all because it's only 7, but I'll be quick. So I'll start off with the 9. So first, this is Leva Bates, formerly known as Blue Pants in NXT. This is an AEW card. It has a patch on it. It's actually a pretty nice patch. This is a 1 of 1. So this got a 9, which is the second highest grade that you can get from PSA.
But like I said, for me, it's really just about protecting this. The cases are very thick, especially being a relic card. The other 9 I got, like I said, I want to submit legends. So I had an Undertaker autograph from Cactus Jack this year. Cactus Jack is a product that is linked to Travis Scott. The product kind of fell off a little bit. I paid a lot for my box that I got at first, and I got really lucky to get this card. This card does have good value. If you're interested in it, it's on eBay already. Marcus Brandon breaks. But so those were my only 9s I got, and then moving on to 10s. So I tried to go with names that were topical. One that fell off is Dexter Loomis of the Wyatt Six. They haven't really been as hot. That being said, they do have a WrestleMania storyline, so this could rebound. This is from Chrome 2025, which was WWE's first year back with Topps. It is an autographed card, and it is numbered to 25. I felt really good submitting this one, as it actually was a redemption, which means that the card wasn't in the pack when the person that I bought it from opened it. They got a card that said, like, scratch off this code, and then they mail it to you. So I got it is in a sealed case from Topps. I literally slit that seal, put it in a different, and handed it to Jeff to submit. And then I got Mads Kruger of MLW. Relatively unknown, but definitely making waves on the indie scene. MLW is not the biggest wrestling promotion, but they recently moved their headquarters to Charleston, South Carolina, which is where I live. So I've been getting very into MLW. I'm actually going to an MLW show tomorrow night. What better way to celebrate your wife's birthday than leaving her with kids so you can go to MLW with a friend? This was a very short run card online. It was a print to order. Only 63 copies were ordered. I ordered 10 of them. I submitted one of them. It got a 10. I know I said that I really graded stuff to sell. This is on eBay, but I'd be more than happy to keep this in my collection.
Hey, Marcus, is that his rookie card, or does he have cards before that one?
This is his rookie card. That being said, MLW did put out a product in 2025 as well with Panini, like a pack pulled. So he has pack pulled rookies, which usually pull more weight and are more valuable than like a print to order card. But yes, that is a rookie.
That's right. He was in the combat set, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. The combat anthology. All right. And then my last 3 I'll rattle off pretty quick. One of them I know Jeff wants. It's on eBay. Nick Wayne rookie auto. This is a red Pulsar from AEW Alert 2024. Also, I got a 10 on this. It's Nick Wayne has a lot of potential right now. He hasn't been too involved. That being said, I think it's a good card to hold. I do think he debuted at age 18. He's got a really bright future. And I thought that was a good card. Anna Jay has a lot of collectors. This is a color flow full rainbow, which means that this was not in packs. You had to get digital achievements and redeem them to get this. So the short of it, without going into what it means, the card is rare itself. And then I got a PSA 10 on it. There's not a print run known, but it is pretty low. And then the last one, like I said, and I think this is probably the most valuable, same card, achievement of Danhausen. This is from 2022 Allure. So the card is 4 years old, but Danhausen debuted in WWE recently, and his debut flopped, and the internet was panning him, which I found hilarious.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, the internet fell in love with him. The debut wasn't great. Everything he's done since then has been absolutely electric. He's had his first match on SmackDown this week, his first WWE match. I got a 10 on that. It is on eBay, but I think I'll be probably holding that one for a while. If anyone is interested in any of these cards, though, feel free to reach out to me. I'll offer you a 10% discount if you give me the promo code. Everybody has a story. It's a long promo code. You can use spaces or not, whatever you want. So that was my 7 cards. I'm very happy with the grades. 9s and 5 10s on 7 cards is pretty good, especially when, like I said, on one of the cards, the grade really didn't matter to me that much at all.
Yeah, I was really excited seeing your grades when they came in. I guess question is everybody has a story? Is it case sensitive or it doesn't matter?
Nope, it's not case sensitive. You can put spaces, periods, dashes, ampersands, whatever you want in there. However, whatever works for you works for me. I just need to make sure that you heard about these cards by listening to Jeff's podcast.
So I appreciate the plug, and I appreciate the use of the promo code. I mean, Chris Van Vliet has his own, Cody Rhodes has his own, so why shouldn't I have my own too, right? I'm in the
I was going to make the code Little Rat 10, but I thought that everybody has a story was a nicer thing.
That might be a little too inside, but Marcus, thank you for that. And again, you and I had very different strategies. I'll get into mine after we go through Daniel's, where you were very specific and very strategic in what you submitted versus I basically just took a whole box and dumped it in there. Plus, my issue is as I am 48 and I've been wearing glasses since I was 7. I do need to wear my cheaters. So trying to fine tune or see the little issues here and there are getting more and more difficult for me. As you probably remember, about 2 years ago when I first got back into cards, I opened a box and I was like, Marcus, I didn't get any numbered cards. You're like BS. There's no way to get any numbered cards. So I put in my reading glasses and I found like 7 or 8 of them had like numbered on them. Whatever. I was like, okay, I probably need a little help here. That might have been the first time that I needed cheaters.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true. But all jokes aside, it's very different when, like I said, I am submitting these mostly to resell. Submitting a card was it like $25 now a card or something like that?
It's about 25, yeah, all in, right? Yeah.
So some of these cards that I submitted, ungraded, they're probably worth $15 to $40. Yeah. So if you submit a bunch of cards that you don't think are going to get 10s and they get 9s or 8s,
right. Yes,
you're losing money submitting. So that's the difference is, Jeff, not everything, a lot of what you're submitting is really for your collection. Absolutely. So if the grade's not great, it is what it is. For me, if I take a $15 card, sink $25 into it and lower the value of the card or keep the value where it was, that's a bad business move. So yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, totally get it. And again, Marcus, thank you for sharing with that. And as always, you're welcome to join on the next submission, which I'll be doing probably early May at this point. Daniel, so you went a little different, whatever. So obviously Marcus was all wrestling cards, and I really enjoy submitting your cards, Daniel, because I do learn a lot of names I've never heard of before. Because you do some wrestling, but you also do poker, you do soccer, you do all sorts of different things. Can you walk us through a little bit of what your mindset was, and then share some of your cards and your grades?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I really hope someone goes onto Marcus's eBay site and tries to use that promo code. I really want that to happen. And also, congratulations, Marcus, on the foresight on Danhausen. Who knew? You can pick our lottery numbers for next week. But now, as Jeff says, I think I submitted about 16 cards, some wrestling cards in there, but also a lot of other cards as well. So I think a lot of you guys know that I don't really sell anything. I don't think I've sold a single bit of my memorabilia. It's really all for my personal collection. So some of the stuff that I did collect, I think I've showed this card before. This is my Mike Trout auto card. I think I might have shared this actually previously. Finally, after 3 years, got around to grading it. This is staying in my collection. I'm a big baseball guy. For anyone that knows, obviously Mike Trout, until Otani turned up, was pretty much the superstar of baseball. So graded a 9, not perfect, but for my PC, I'm pretty happy to have that. Having an auto of Mike Trout is a card, especially when he goes into the Hall of Fame. Hopefully that becomes worth something, but not really planning on selling it. And as Jeff mentioned, I've got into some more random spaces. So who would have realized that poker cards are actually a thing? So this one here is a dual auto, 2 of 3. Jared Blesnick and Robbie J. Lou poker card. And this one also came back at 9. So this was actually a Leaf is the product. So I know we hear about Topps and we hear about Panini a lot, but this is Leaf that released this in 2025. And it was a pretty hot product. I actually just picked it up at a card show randomly. And then straight away, the product was out of stock. So it was pretty lucky. I got a couple of boxes. So I've been grading these bit by bit because most of them are super low. They're either dual or triple auto. So just something a little bit different to have in the collection. Not something that's going to be able to retire. The value isn't like super high on this. This isn't going to get you a $1,500 return, but just something cool to have in the collection that's a little bit different. Is a nice one to have. And coming back at a 9, pretty happy. And I should say overall, the majority of my cards came back as a 9. Luckily enough, we're going to get to a couple in a second that were 10s that I wanted to be 10s, but the majority, I would say, came back in that 9 range, which generally was fine. Before I go into ones I like, I'm going to go one that I'm a bit annoyed about. So I've been collecting a series called Futura. It's a soccer collection, and they do some really cool cards. Lots of really low numbered, even more like base cards. So when Marcus was talking earlier about wrestling cards, you open and it's like out of 199, out of 299. They don't really do that. It's out of 49, it's out of 29, it's out of 15. So I pulled a really cool 7 of 10 gold leaf card from a Uruguayan soccer player. And it came back graded a 6.
Oh,
And I'm like, looking at this,
Oh.
I have no idea how this is graded a 6. The card looks incredible. To Marcus, like, I didn't wipe it down. I didn't do any of that stuff. But it's just one of those things where I'm like,
Can you hold that card up again?
how about it?
Is it a thick card?
It is a thick card.
the thick cards. Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, Marcus, when we get into what I submitted, I think that's gonna be a theme in the fact that the thick cards are a lot tougher to get higher grades because there's so many other variables or attributes that could knock it down, right? In terms of if it's not thick enough, if it's got a little bit of a something here and there or whatever. Like, there's so many issues.
Also, depending on how thick the card is, like I have a card that, I mean, I want to say it's like 300 point, which, I mean, pretty thick. It takes the card from having 2 sides to having 6.
Yes.
And they actually will inspect the edges. And if there's like a ding on the inside there,
Yes.
there goes your grade.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more surface area to cover. And they're also a lot more prone to damage based off of the fact it's a paper stock.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. But again, one for the personal collection, so maybe I'll just put like a sticker over the grade or something. Now on to sort of the last couple, and I said one of the coolest card I pulled in a break. Sorry, Marcus, it wasn't with you because it was a soccer break. I apologize. But I pulled a really cool 1-of-1 Emerick Laporte. For anyone that doesn't know, Emerick Laporte is a central defender that plays for Spain, but also played for Man City. And I pulled his 1-of-1 jersey patch auto.
That's great.
So a really cool card, probably value in the range of 200 to 400 ungraded. Came back at 10, probably triples that grade. So,
Amazing. That's great.
and it's just a really, really cool card. So this is the one that came back that I was like, yes, thank you very much. If anything was going to grade a 10, this was probably the one I wanted.
Awesome.
Again, no intention to sell unless there's any massive Emerick Laporte fans out there. You can use this same promo code and email me. But that's one that's going to go happily in the collection. And I am going to end on, seeing as we are talking about wrestling, I will end on a wrestling card. So really, really happy that my Tiffany Stratton 59 and 75 auto came back as a 10. So this time last year, we were all talking about Tiffy going into Mania. She was on a tear. Really cool card that we got in the last year. That really happy just to have in my collection. I think she's a superstar for the future. So to have a graded 10 numbered auto in the collection, super happy.
So first of all, Daniel, thank you for sharing. Really, really amazing stuff there. And obviously, like I said, I always enjoy seeing your cards specifically because it's stuff that's outside of like what I normally see. Like, it's not stuff I collect. So for me, it's really intriguing. Number 2, obviously, with that Tiffy card, it's really cool because she's making an appearance. Last year, she beat Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania and retained the women's title. This year, she's going to be making an appearance in our suite at WrestleMania. So I think you can show her the card. You can tell her the story. I'm sure she'll love to hear it.
Love it.
Awesome. So with that said, I did submit a lot of cards this year. So I don't know that I'm going to go through all, I think 40 or so cards this time. But there was definitely a theme. I would say, before getting into some of these cards, I'd say Topps overall tended to grade the best. Upper Deck AEW cards, at least for my cards here, didn't grade nearly as well. And then I had some that were kind of in the middle. In full transparency, I sourced all these cards from either Marcus's breaks, Medina's breaks, my own personal boxes that I've bought, or eBay. And as you would expect, eBay tends to be the Wild West in terms of how some of these grade because you never know the original source. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to start off with some of my not so good cards and work my way up to kind of like build up towards the end. So not surprisingly, I did get a few 6s. I will say in full honesty, I've already broken open a few 6s, so I'm not going to share those here because those are ones that the cards I liked a lot. I didn't necessarily think that the 6s would look good in my collection, and I was just disgusted every time I saw them. So breaking them open, I felt much better about the cards. So the 2 6s that I still have at this point, I have a Jay Lethal Authentic Fabrics autograph. I like it. I don't like the grade. I do like the card a lot. Again, this is an AEW Upper Deck card from 2025. Game used. I'd say overall, the game used didn't grade very well. And to Marcus's point, they are thicker, so it's tougher. Another one, this I'm not going to say who I got it from, but this is a member of the Gun Club. This is Austin Gunn. We got an autograph card, 2025, also a 6. So didn't love the grade, but I do love the card. This is one that I wasn't sure I was going to share, but I guess I'll share it just because of whatever. I'll probably eventually break it open. But this is a card that I liked a lot and had higher hopes for, but it just didn't happen. This is a triple autographed out of 25 Upper Deck AEW game used Sky Blue, Britt Baker, and Sheeta. I love this card a lot. Do I love the grade? Absolutely not. It's a fun card. What you'll see throughout a lot of my cards is I love dual and multi autograph cards. Like for me, it pops. It looks really cool, especially a lot of them when they kind of like tell a story in terms of it's talking about a specific match or a specific something, or something in common, which I'll get into later on. One of my favorite cards was a multi autograph, but I'll show that in a bit. Into the 7s, this is where I was kind of disappointed, but I mean, to Marcus's point, it's a 1 of 1, so I think I'll keep it slabbed regardless. So I do have a 2025 game used AEW Time Mellow autograph 1 of 1 fabric card. This was a 7. I was hoping for better, but again, it's a 1 of 1. So at the end of the day, if there's a Time Mellow fan out there, kind of, the grade may not be that relevant because it's a 1 of 1. But at the same time, I was hoping for a little better than a 7. I got a Darby Allin, also again 2025 AEW game used autograph fabrics. I think the card looks cool. Again, I was hoping better than the 7. Then it gets into some of my personal collection ones, which the grades are kind of irrelevant. I just kind of use it for my own keeping. So Jay Lethal Auto, really like this one a lot. Really cool one, 2025. This one was a Metal Universe. Then there's a few others. Anything else worth watching? Oh, this one, I was hoping for better, but again, also a 7. Trent and Chuck Taylor, autographed, game used, dual autograph is what it is. Now let's move to the 8s. So the 8s I thought was where I was kind of a little happier with the grades, I guess, overall. Some limited stuff. So this is one where, as Marcus and everyone else knows, I am a feminist. So obviously, I was at a card show, had to buy this card, and then had to get it graded. So this one is out of 3. I think Daniel had mentioned earlier, or maybe Marcus mentioned earlier, the various like leaf sets. So this was a leaf set out of 3. Doris Burke and Rochelle Nichols, 2 ESPN or formerly ESPN announcers. I think it's really cool. This is actually number 1 out of 3, so it's a bookend. So this would be what an eBay 1 out of 1, as they call it sometimes. It's kind of
well, when it's a 1 out of 3. 66% of the cards are bookends.
That's true. Thank you, Marcus. But yeah, I mean, the odds are up there that if you have 2 of the 3 cards. So I guess in that situation with the
I would go with first off the print on that one. Is what I would go with. But yes, it is an eBay 101 for sure.
Do you refer to like a 3 out of 3 as the last off the prints, or is that not really a thing?
No, I just call that the bookend.
The bookend. Awesome. Some other 8s, as Marcus knows, one of my newer PCs is Excalibur. Some people think he's just an announcer. Some people are kind of not really fans of his. But for me, I still remember him from PWG, as well as Combat Zone Wrestling back in the early 2000s. So this is one that I got on eBay. I like the card, similar to the Time Mellow. It is a 1 out of 1 autograph. This is an Excalibur 2025 game used with the laundry tag. I think it's cool. Again, I don't love the 8, but it is a 1 out of 1. So this is one where, will I sell it? Will I not? I don't know. Since I've bought a few additional 1 out of 1 other cards on Excalibur, which we'll see. One of them was a printing plate, which I think looks really cool. We'll see if I do that. Another one as well. I'll fly through some of these just because I do have a lot of cards here. This is one that I was hoping for better, but as mentioned, some of these just kind of grade as they grade. So this is from the 2025 Combat Anthology, the Panini card set that came out, I think, in November. I loved it in the fact that it was fairly inexpensive. You got a lot of great autos, but there was a lot of just random wrestlers and random fighters in the set. This is one that I was super excited when I think Marcus pulled this one for me. This was a out of 10 autograph Frank Shamrock Tito Ortiz card. Card looks cool. It's out of 10. Only got a PSA 8, but again, there are only 10 of them in existence. These guys are legends in the fight game, so really excited that I do have it graded, and kind of is what it is. This one is more of a tribute to Daniel, as Daniel and myself watched him run a wrestling seminar back in the summer. My fighting anthology, Paul London autograph card.
I love it, yeah.
Daniel and I and our buddy Steve at WrestleMania week 2 years ago watched him fight. I think it was Speedball.
Yeah.
It was kind of outside. It was pouring rain. I think
it was at a beer garden tent, wasn't it?
It was, yes. And there were no seats. We were literally standing up against the ring. And I think Paul London sang for half the match too, which was pretty insane.
So fun Paul London story. Last night, actually, my wife went to bed and I actually watched Northeast Wrestling, which is a UK-based promotion, and Paul London popped up to make his debut last night. And he sang for half the match as well. So pretty much the same theme.
My favorite Paul London story about the seminar last year was I think he was telling one of the wrestlers, don't do all that flippy stuff. Which is funny, I mean, that's basically how Paul London made his name years ago. The thing that most people remember about Paul London, there's two of them, right? There's his elimination from the Royal Rumble when Gene Snitsky clotheslined him and he did like a backflip like to the floor. Again, flippy stuff. And I think the other one was probably what got Paul London fired when he was laughing hysterically as Vince McMahon walked by right before the limo blew up or something like that, right? So I don't know. Wrestling is weird. People tend to change over the years, I guess, but it is what it is. Another one that I'm hoping that Daniel will help me out with here. So I got my Tank Abbott out of 10 autograph card. This is a PSA 8. I say Daniel could help me out because I have an out of 10. He also has the same card out of 10. So if Daniel were to destroy his card, this would then technically be out of 9 at that point, right? That's kind of how it works. Kind of how Marcus owns 20% of the Kruger.
I don't think either of us have the bookend, so I think that's the problem.
That's a problem. Again, just flying through them. I got a Chris Lieben autograph out of 99 of the PSA 8. I went through a couple of older cards too. So this one was just one that I thought looked really cool, so I got it graded. This is from a few years ago. AW. This is like a merch look or whatever. So it looks like a T-shirt. So it's a die cut Thunder Rosa card. This one I thought was really cool. Huge ECW mark from the past. So I got a Taz out of 5 autograph AEW card with the patch and a few others. Then it gets into some of the fun stuff. So I'll get to the 9s and 10s now and I'll fly through them. So huge fan of Fraxium. That's Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I got a bunch of them signed, graded. So I got an Axiom. I think this is out of 25. Out of 25 finest. I got a PSA 9. I got this one was out of 50. Axiom got a PSA 9 autograph. Nathan Frazier. This one was a card that I liked a lot. Hope that got a better grade, but it is what it is. This was out of 5. This is the bookend. 5 out of 5. Nathan Frazier. Topps finest 2025. This one's not quite as cool as Marcus's, but I got a Nick Wayne autograph. PSA 9. Thea Hale. I was hoping that I could meet her at the World next week. They moved her to Monday, so unfortunately, I will not be seeing Thea Hale in person. But I was hoping to get a picture with her. Then a bunch of others. I got a Butterbean. I got the Smashing Machine Mark Kerr autograph PSA 9 and a few others. Now, and I'll fly through these as I've been trying to fly through everything else. So what I'll say is my main event. This one I like a lot. This one I bought specifically from Marcus back in November. And I'm not going to say how much I paid for it, but it was a really cool card. He gave me, I think, a really good deal. So this is a multi-autograph from Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and Wade Barrett from 2021 Topps Finest. Got me a PSA 10. Very excited. This is one where I really don't know what the value is, but I just like it a lot. I'm just going to say in my collection. Really want to keep this one to myself. Daniel's favorite fighter, Josh Koscheck, got an autograph PSA 10 here. This is unnumbered, but I think the card looks really cool. So happy with that. And then I will say, what else? Just fly through here. My only PSA 10 of the 2025 game used cards was a Harley Cameron card that we have here. This was a patch of some kind, I think, right? Game used banner, they call it, I guess. Yeah, looks really cool. And then this one was one that has probably no value, but I love it. It's a die cut Bryan Danielson AEW. These are always tough to get graded too because there are so many points and edges and corners. It's probably like very much a base card, but I think it's only got a population of 1. Probably because nobody else wanted to spend $25 to grade it, but love that one a lot. And if there's any MJF marks out there, it's a see-through Palladium MJF PSA 10 from a few years ago. Again, I think I pulled this one out of a box that I bought at Target for like $20, whatever. So that was that. Lots of other cards too, but I think that's probably enough because I've got way too many cards graded. Now I can finally file these all away and work on the next submission. So more cards coming in the near future. So thank you all for joining. If you're still with us, really appreciate it. So with that said, before moving on to our talk about WrestleMania, I did want to briefly share a clip from last year's post-WrestleMania show where everybody was talking about what their plans were going to be for the 2026 WrestleMania season. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get this going. And we will share it out. I know, Jeff, you're on mute. Blah, 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 blah. Like a Teams meeting here. Okay, hold on.
Tuesday, only to find out that your wife had sold the house and all your stuff was gone. Is that correct?
Pretty much. Apart from my wrestling figures, they were sold.
It was just one big storage pod, basically, on what used to be your driveway with all of your wrestling and sports stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a pretty good summary. Yeah.
Nice. So now that we've kind of gotten to the end of the wrestling weekend, so I assume, Daniel, it sounds like from your experiences, you enjoyed it and you would do it again?
Yeah, I'll think about it. Yeah. Okay. If someone else is going to plan it for me, I'll definitely do it again. So,
well, I'll call my guys, see what we can do.
100%. Yeah, great experience.
Awesome. Marcus, you as well?
Great experience. Loved it. Would absolutely do it again. That being said, I don't think that WrestleMania 42 is my again. I think I'll be sitting out New Orleans and waiting to see where WrestleMania 43 is.
All right. So breaking news here, as you probably already have figured out by now. WrestleMania a year ago was supposed to be in New Orleans in 2026. For whatever reason, WWE abruptly adjusted it, went back to Vegas again. I'm guessing that was enough that Marcus said, you know what? I don't want to go to New Orleans, but I want to go to Las Vegas, so I'm going to WrestleMania this year. Marcus, can you, before we get into kind of plans for this year, kind of walk us through what in your mind changed? Because I know over the last year, there was a lot of like, I'm not going to go. Then it was like 50-50, whatever else like that. Like, was there kind of a make or break moment? Was them signing Danhausen the thing that got you there? Or like, why are you going to Vegas for Mania this year?
I mean, that was not the catalyst. That being said, if I wasn't committed already and then they signed him, that could have pushed me there. A couple things. For some reason, New Orleans is just not my wheelhouse. And Vegas is. I was trying to figure this out. I think I've been to Vegas 16 times, something along those lines. Also, originally last year was supposed to have been in Minneapolis, and I was like, I'll sit that one out. And then it was Vegas. This was supposed to be New Orleans. Then it was Vegas. And I believe they had already announced that next year is in Saudi Arabia. So I can tell you with no hesitation, I know I said last year, I don't think I was going. I will not be going to WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia for multiple reasons. Just mostly finances,
mostly
my religion, amongst other things that I'm not trying to get controversial at all. So that's not happening. I knew this year was in play. Also, you know, my friend who I usually do everything with, Lucas, he was originally not sure if he could make it this year. Then things started to align. I ended up getting a free flight. I got a great deal on hotel. And these things just kind of started to get the wheels in motion. Then Lucas is going. So that's what changed that. And yeah, I would say that was really what started to make things turn. The other thing I did realize is, since I obviously, like I said, will not be going to Saudi Arabia for WrestleMania 43, chances are WrestleMania 44, if things continue how they're going in my household, with my 5-year-old, she's 5 now, so she'll be 7 then, being an avid wrestling fan, which is one of my greatest parenting accomplishments, and probably my wife would say one of her biggest failures as a parent. I probably will be going to WrestleMania 44 with Lexi. So I felt like I needed one last hurrah for myself, as we'll discuss shortly. When I do these, I run myself into the ground. It is a vacation, but it's super stressful. I book myself way too thin. And this could be, at least for a while, the last time that I do WrestleMania that way, which I would say is my way.
Right.
So not that it won't be great to do it a different way and, you know, get that with her. If you listen to the pod, when Jeff and I talked about the New Year's episode, I said how taking my daughter to Evolution, the all-women show in Atlanta, is, I mean, not just my best wrestling moment, my favorite wrestling moment. It's multiple of my top 10 favorite wrestling moments, which says a lot since I've gone to 6 or 7 WrestleManias at this point. So this is for all those reasons. And then Jeff was going, so I felt like I could just go to New Jersey to see Jeff and Daniel, but like I could go to Vegas and do it too, so why not?
Awesome. So Marcus, thank you for sharing. I totally agree. I mean, it'll definitely be a different experience. It's as parents, you recognize that like as kids get older, the experience gets different. And sometimes we, adapt and revise things to make sure that it's, fun for them. Right. Like I'm guessing, she's 5 now, when she'll be 7 in 2 years. She's not going to want to wait in lines for, 12 hours a day for autographs and for pictures, stuff like that. Maybe a couple here and there for her favorites, but and also like midnight shows and whatever else like that may or may not be happening with a 7-year-old at that point. So So
right, and it's also speculatory.
Of course.
That's 40% of her life in the future.
That's true.
But I feel like wherever it is, we'll probably be at like children's museums and doing stuff like that, which is great. Yes. As long as we go to the WrestleMania show, like that's what my memory will be. But
yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, I went to WrestleMania 17 in Houston with my dad, so that was back in 2001. I mean, we did one thing for me, one thing for him. So we went to WrestleMania and went to a Holocaust museum. So we were both, satisfied with our experience, I guess. I don't know. In any event, let's move on. So last year for WrestleMania, obviously I sat it out because I went on vacation with my family, which absolutely loved. And at the same time, got lots of pictures and videos from Daniel and Marcus along the way and was able to experience it through them. My plan was, wherever it was going to be this year, was to make it back. Initially, New Orleans, I was very excited about because I went to New Orleans in 2014 for WrestleMania, had a great experience, went there on the job, which was just a ridiculous situation. And then this year, I was like, oh, New Orleans would be great. A lot of fun places to go to there. WrestleMania also, when it was in New Orleans, like everything was in a very centralized area. So from a transportation and getting from point A to point B was super easy. With that said, knowing I was going to come this year and knowing that Daniel gets his personal concierge back, I don't think anybody was more excited than Daniel is that I'm going because, I mean, Daniel could probably say it, and this isn't just me speaking out of turn. Like, I've kept Daniel in the loop the entire along the way, but I've basically booked and planned 90% of the trip. Would that be fair, Daniel?
90. I think I booked my flights. I booked the hotel.
You did.
I feel like I've been looped in on the planning, and my opinion's been asked for things that I'm not going to. That Daniel is going to, that he had no say. But also, just real quick to go back to that clip you played when I said I probably wasn't going this year.
Yes.
And Daniel was like, "Well, I would go if someone does it for me." Correct me if I'm wrong. At that point, you guys already had your deposit down for New Orleans.
Yep.
So you were already locked in. If you go back and I listened to that episode, that clip. So you guys were already locked in. But location changed, and obviously, you guys kept your plan with.
Yeah, we even had a hotel booked in New Orleans. We had a hotel booked.
I mean, to be fair, I think Daniel had like 6 hotels booked in New Orleans at that point. And so, like, we were lucky we didn't book any flights by that point.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows Jeff, this is the difference between Mania 25 and Mania 26. Mania 25, I think I booked it 4 weeks out, Jeff.
Yeah, I think we were doing something either like January or maybe early February, and you're like, I think I want to go. I'm not really sure, and I was like, just do it. Like, what's stopping you? So at that point, it was like, to your point, like a month and a half out or something like that. Versus, I think to your point, like this one, because I'm involved, we booked this over a year out. We started putting stuff down.
Wait, clarification here: Mania 25 and Mania 26. You mean?
Oh, 2025.
Right, meaning Mania 41 and Mania 42.
Exactly.
I was like, you guys did this? And it took me a second. But yeah, no, 100%. Daniel, literally, last year, you and I met up. It was the first time we met. We were sitting at that bar in the Palms. And you were like, yeah, I just bought my ticket for WrestleMania Night 1. And that was like, I want to say that was Wednesday night. And that was obviously for Saturday. Yeah, you were like, oh, I went on Sweet Hop or whatever and bought this ticket. That's the difference.
Yeah. So I have to thank whoever it was, Triple H, TQ, whoever made the decision to get you both in Vegas, give Jeff the experience that he missed last year, and Marcus to have you again, because it was a lot of fun last year. Because I know we did 2 years ago in Philly, Jeff and I and our other buddy Steve, but last year was a lot of fun hanging out with you and the guys. So glad we're all going to be there together. And Jeff, Vegas.
Of course. So slight clarification. You guys actually met for the first time at GCW's American Dream Show, November of 2024.
You're right. But that was like the first, right.
Yeah,
we that was the first time that I spent time with you. You were 100% right.
It was the first time.
I made a clarification point, Jeff. You had to make fun feel like
it was the first time without Jeff, so that's what we'll go with.
This is the first real hang, absolutely.
The first time we got to drink together, which is
exactly.
If you're not drinking, it doesn't count.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what I'll say to the point of going to Vegas. So I've been to Vegas a few times in my life, not as many as Marcus, but I've always enjoyed Vegas and I've had different experiences. So for me, I'll say as we get into like what we're excited about for Vegas and WrestleMania is I love the idea that it's Vegas because there are a couple of things in Vegas that are non-wrestling related that I really wanted to get to. So going back about 2-3 years ago, as everybody probably knows, I love Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, which take place between August and November in Orlando and in Hollywood every year. About 3 years ago, they announced they were going to open up a year-round experience in Las Vegas, where basically it's a bunch of haunted houses similar to Halloween Horror Nights, but it'll always be there. They'll have, I think, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Universal Monsters, stuff like that. Coincidentally, this opened about a year ago, maybe right after Mania last year. So as soon as they announced that Mania was going to Vegas this year, I was like, yep, that's absolutely going to happen. That's number one. Number two, other thing that I'm really excited about, non-wrestling related, is the Sphere. So for those of you that don't know, the Sphere is this huge monstrosity of a theater of sorts that opened up in Vegas. I think it's owned by Madison Square Garden Networks or something like that. And it's like no other in terms of the size and scale of the screens. It's a spectacle of its own and really tough to describe. They generally do concerts there, which have high production value. But during the day, because they have, I guess, a lot of money to pay off, they also have other events. So for the last few months, they've been doing The Wizard of Oz, which is not just like a movie viewing experience. And I know, sorry to Daniel who doesn't watch movies, but I'm dragging him along for this. But it's like an experiential thing where I think of what I've heard, like it's almost like a next level, like Rocky Horror Picture Show from like years ago, where like characters come out, things happen, seats move. I don't know, something like that. I'm hoping not to get sick during the show, but we'll see how that lands. So I'm very excited about those two things. Wanted to obviously add on, obviously, everything wrestling related. So I have lots of stuff that Daniel and I have signed up for. Obviously, lots of things that Marcus has signed up for, and there's a lot of overlap as well. So want to go over to Daniel first to get a sense of the things that we have planned for the week within Mania. So obviously there's shows, there's signings. What are you most looking forward to at this point?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I had to spend about 30 minutes this morning looking at what we're actually doing. But thanks to everything. No, a ton of stuff. So one of the things on a more lighthearted side, I think it's going to be fun because guys, I'm a big wrestling fan, but also to do some of the other stuff's going to be fun. So I was lucky. I went to the Sphere a couple of years ago for Formula One. Sat right outside the Sphere. Went to a concert inside the Sphere pre-Formula One show. So that whole thing is going to be an awesome experience. And I'm not a movie guy, but I'm happy to spend some time doing that. So I think that's going to be fun. Also intrigued to see you. I hear all about your experiences, these horror night places. So I've never actually done it with you. I know that we've listened to the pods where you and John go through it. So I'm actually excited to actually experience that one with you as well, because I know you're a big fan. So from a wrestling perspective, obviously you guys, Mania's, looking forward to Mania. But for me, Mania is just kind of there. I don't think I've watched WWE for the last 8 months. I think the only thing I watch is Danhausen's clips on Facebook. So I'm probably more about the independent shows. And it looks like there's a theme starting at these shows. Like last year, I was at, sadly, Sabu's last match. This year, we're getting Sandman's last match. And then this morning, I just seen JCW announced we're getting Vampiro's retirement match. So it seems like this is becoming a place where the legends come for the last match. So a little bit gimmicky, and we'll probably go into it more after on the post show. But for anyone listening, Sandman is fighting a very well-known wrestler called the Invisible Man. So won't spoil what that is, but it's what you can imagine. So just really intrigued to see how that goes. And that show in general, Joey Janelle Spring Break is also always an awesome show. Last year they sold out the Palms Theatre, some incredible matches, and the card again this year looks good. And then just around it, there's a ton of great stuff. Like Jeff and I have had some experiences at Juggalo Championship Wrestling. They're a bit totally crazy. They're starting a show at midnight. And we don't have enough time just now to go into that, but I cannot wait to do the debrief on that one.
Yes.
But a ton of good stuff to go after. I think that they've put a great card together. It seems like it's even elevated again from last year. A lot of the other companies like House of Glory and all these other guys are in town now. So it looks like there's going to be a ton of great talent around popping up at these indie shows. So I expect lots of good surprises and a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And before we get into Marcus, just because Daniel and I have obviously, I don't want to say overlap, but we have almost identical agendas, whatever. I'll kind of get into a few of these as well. So yeah, completely agree. So for me, Spring Break, I think is probably the show that I'm most looking forward to, Joey Janelle's Spring Break. So many matches that just look incredible. So many fun, just wrestlers are going to show up there. Plus on a lot of the smaller independent shows like Spring Break or whatever, they often have the meet and greets either before or after the show. So a lot of the wrestlers that are going to be there are then, available to purchase pictures with them. So really excited for that one. Bloodsport, which is earlier in the day on Thursday, is always a fun one. It's kind of like for those of you that don't know, it's basically like a UFC kind of a thing, but it's with wrestlers and obviously it's, let's say predetermined, but it's always fun. Plus they get wrestlers from WWE. They get it from other like big name organizations. It's very weird or a random kind of cross section of where people come across. So that's really just a fun show overall. Obviously WrestleMania. I mean, Daniel and I 2 years ago did the on location Sweet by the Seat package. Do the same thing again this year, which I'm really, really excited about. 2 years ago in Philly, it made total sense because it was like 30 degrees. It was freezing. I think it could have snowed. So being in a suite makes sense. Here, I like the idea again, too, because I've sat in lots of different places for WrestleMania in the past, especially in stadiums. And what I'll say is similar to like a football game, it's tough to find like a really good seat for a wrestling event in a football stadium. Unless you're in the first few rows, you tend to find yourself kind of looking at the big screen, whatever. So for me, like I love the actual experience, the premium aspect of sitting in a suite at WrestleMania and doing it with On Location is always a lot of fun because it's all inclusive from a food and drink perspective. They have in-suite superstar appearances. So they have WWE wrestlers who come to the suite, and you can get pictures with them during the show. This is something I actually wanted to get into and mention to Marcus and Daniel because about a week or two ago, On Location has sent through the wrestlers list who is going to be at the suite. And then this morning I saw an update and it changed. So I was pleasantly surprised initially with the list of wrestlers, as there are a lot of just big name wrestlers that I really enjoy. So Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green, The Miz, Danhausen, we've talked about a lot, is going to be making a suite appearance. Tiffany Stratton, as I kind of alluded to earlier, Daniel can maybe get a picture with her and the card or give her the card or sell her the card. I don't know how that transaction goes down or whatever else like that. Now, as many people who've been watching wrestling know, recently The Miz and Danhausen have been kind of feuding. So the initial list that I got had The Miz and Danhausen both coming to the suite on Saturday, which surprised me because generally the wrestlers all come at the same time. So I was like from a kayfabe perspective, how is that going to work? I've made the joke that, hey, the big WrestleMania match between Miz and Danhausen will be in our suite. This morning I saw an update, and Danhausen has been moved to Sunday now. So going through the list, I'll share this out. So the list of wrestlers coming to our suite. Saturday is Chelsea Green, Matt Cardona, Carmelo Hayes, R-Truth, The Miz, and in the bonus ads, we got Berto, Angel, and Jimmy Hart. So Daniel can finally get that picture with the megaphone and the mouth that says Jimmy Hart, which I'm really sure he's excited about. Or Jimmy can take the picture for him, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Jimmy takes pictures of him with Berto or an Angel, something like that. And then on Sunday, they actually took away a wrestler, but they also added a wrestler and an additional appearance, which I'm sure Daniel will be really excited about. So, as I said, Danhausen was moved to Sunday. Tiffany Stratton still Sunday. They added the original El Grande Americano. So, it's an interesting one. It's fun. We'll see if he's in full gimmick or what that looks like. We still have Grayson Waller. And then once again, your official photographer on Sunday could be Jimmy Hart, as he'll make a second appearance.
Jeff, can I say that? Thank you. I know we didn't do the live on the pod reveal of the gradings from the PSAs, but this was a live on the pod reveal for me of the upgrades. So thank you. I feel so much more excited now.
Of course. So, I mean, I'd say in summary, we lost LA Knight, which I'm a little disappointed about, but we added a Berto and an Angel and a Jimmy Hart. So there's that, I guess, right? And El Grande Americano. So I would say it's a relatively a wash. Plus, again, Jimmy Hart is always just fun to be around, I guess. So there's that. We can ask him about his cameo that he made in the Marked Out video podcast a few weeks ago. So I don't know. That's probably too inside for anybody. Outside of that, I would say, before I pass it over to Marcus, there were a number of wrestling pictures that I'm very excited about that I purchased at the World. So when Daniel and I went 2 years ago, we didn't spend much, if any, time at the World. We spent it all at WrestleCon. This year, we strategically decided, you know what, even though WrestleCon is going to be right next door to the Collective, let's skip WrestleCon because there's not really a lot of new names versus 2 years ago. And for me, I decided to go for a lot more WWE pictures at the World. So flying through the pictures that I bought, which I'm really excited about. So I'm getting a picture with Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch. Yesterday, I picked up a Stephanie McCur picture. Marcus, Daniel, and myself are getting a picture with Lyra together, which I'm really excited about. One of my favorites these days. Picked up a picture with the Hardy Boys yesterday. I think around that time, Daniel's going to head over to Bloodsport. And then Marcus and I are going to get a picture with NXT up-and-comer Kendall Gray. And then Marcus and I will have an anxiety or a heart attack probably as we try to get over to Bloodsport before it starts with Vegas traffic and Vegas transportation. And then on Sunday, some really exciting ones for me. Kit Wilson. It's been very fun. I've really enjoyed what he's done since he's kind of gone singles last few months with his partner being injured. Really great. He just seems to have it. He seems to be one of Matt Cardona's favorite wrestlers these days too. So that's enough of a plus for me to obviously like him as well. I got a picture with a New Day. I got a Cody Rhodes picture that I'm super excited about, and a Stone Cold Steve Austin picture with Daniel as well. So for me, lots of new first-time wrestler meets and pictures, which I'm really super stoked for. Want to pass over to Marcus to kind of get a sense of what he's most excited about and what he's looking forward to for this week.
Yeah. So for me, what I'm most excited for is WrestleMania, which is, it's just, interesting to hear Daniel say the opposite. That WrestleMania week, it's Christmas for a wrestling fan, but there's so many different ways that you can go. Obviously, WWE is the biggest wrestling company. They're the big show in town, but they bring along, all these other independent companies. You guys are spending a ton of time at the Collective GCW, which is at the Horseshoe Casino. There's also shows running all weekend at Palms and at the Luxor. So there's, a ton of different options out there for everybody. WrestleMania is the biggest draw. It's what I'm there for. But then WWE World, contrary or flip side, I guess, of you guys, you're going to that sparingly. I'll go to that Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday. I also will be spending limited time at WrestleCon. The difference between the two, WrestleCon basically gets any wrestler who's not currently signed to WWE can go to WrestleCon. But those wrestlers appear year-round at all different types of conventions. Some of them. There's some rare names. WWE wrestlers, they don't do as many public appearances. Really, the big pay-per-views, a couple of them will do photo ops, which is a paid thing. But for WWE World, it's 5 days of that.
And Marcus, real quick to your point also. So Daniel and I went to WrestleCon when SummerSlam was in Jersey back in August. So I'll say a lot of the wrestlers that I would have been interested in for WrestleCon this year, we got about 8 months ago or so. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a case of I'm trying to kind of not spend as much money on repeat pictures and get a lot more unique pictures. Thus, that's kind of part of the reasoning also why I'm getting away from WrestleCon and more towards the World this year.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. And also, to me, there's something about, you mentioned that we're taking the picture together with Lyra Valkyria. I don't know why, but there's something to me that I really enjoy about, me and my friends that I'm at WrestleMania with taking pictures, of course, together to commemorate, but with a talent or a wrestler who, we all like. So I have that with you guys, my group of who I'm going to WrestleMania with, my friends Lucas, Evan, and Kevin. And we also go with Evan's dad, Jack. But Jack Jack we have pictures together as well. So I have about 15 photo ops at WWE World over the 4 days I'll be there. Countless autographs as well. So I'm most excited about those two things. Additionally, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, which is how Jeff and I first met. They usually do a live show WrestleMania week, a live podcast. That being said, Matt Cardona is one of the hosts. He recently re-signed with WWE. So instead of doing a show because his schedule is unknown, there's like a meetup at a bar. That should be a lot of fun. $45 open bar, which is right up Daniel's alley, with the exception of the fact that Jeff already has them booked for 2 other wrestling shows during that time. But, and then again, I'm going to, at WWE World, I'll get a picture with Matt Cardona and with my friend Lucas, which is, we've taken a picture with Matt at the pod show, at every WrestleMania that we've gone to together, more or less. So that's kind of my things I'm most excited for. Also, my Vegas aspect, the high roller Ferris wheel. I love doing that. I've done it probably like 8-10 times. Half hour to go around one time. There's a bar in the pod. And then I'll go to In-N-Out after. So that's definitely something that, me and my friends are looking forward to. So we'll do that. Otherwise, I mean, my schedule, I fly in Wednesday, as Jeff mentioned earlier. I have to get my package because I am a psychopath. So I mailed the figures I'm getting signed to Vegas with an air tag in the box. So I've been tracking it because I'm a psychopath. And I need to pick that up Wednesday so that way I can start getting those figures signed on Thursday. Wednesday, we're going to Potter Mania together. That's the 3 of us, as well as Lucas, Evan, I think my friend Mike added on a ticket later on. That's an all-women show because Jeff's a feminist. So we're going to hit that up. Some meet and greets there. And then Thursday, the chaos starts, WWE World. My first photo op I have is at 12:10. And my last photo op I have that day my last autograph I have is at 6:30. So I'll be there all day. And then Friday, WWE World, same thing as Jeff mentioned. We'll be there meeting Kendall Gray until 2:15. However, I do have a ticket to Bloodsport at 3. That being said, I do think I'm bailing on Bloodsport in favor of going to Power Slap, which
No way.
UFC.
Oh, my plans has changed now. I was hoping I can kind of just like watch you and figure out how do we get to the Bloodsport. Now I'm flying solo.
Well, this is up in the air. I haven't bought that yet, but there's a lot of wrestlers actually on the undercard. Independent wrestlers: Danny Moe, Hollywood, Haley J. So that's in the cards right now. We'll see what happens there. And then Saturday, WrestleMania. I'll be at WrestleCon on Saturday. I'm not doing WWE World. Sunday, WWE World, WrestleMania. Monday, I'll go to WWE World, go and ship my packages back to myself as a normal person does. And then I will go to WWE Raw, which is from 5 to 7. And then I will go back to the hotel, get my stuff, and take my red eye home.
Nice. So again, thank you for sharing everything. What I'll say is, and I should have mentioned this earlier too. So 2 years ago, when Daniel and I went to WrestleCon and WrestleMania, I brought like a crap ton of action figures. So I brought a crate, and I was wandering around WrestleCon with this big crate. I recognized that it was cool. I have some cool stuff in my collection now, but it also pulled away from, I guess, my overall enjoyment of the situation because I was more focused on getting the autographs and carrying stuff around. So this year, while I can't guarantee I'm not going to bring anything home, I am not bringing any action figures to get signed. I'm not bringing anything to get signed. I'm more focusing on pictures with wrestlers, and if I buy stuff already out there and bring it home, that's fine for me. I mean, Daniel and I are both, we're checking our luggage. I'll probably have a half-empty suitcase, so that way I could put stuff in there. But for me, from an overall experience perspective, is that I guess also in the last year or so, I've gotten more into cards versus figures as well. So it's probably less top of mind for me, but like it was definitely a haul carrying around a huge crate the entire week for me.
Definitely. And I mean, usually I have multiple packages that I ship out. I get a lot of figures signed at WrestleCon, independent figures, older wrestlers, legends, if you will. This year, I really probably could have just brought a second suitcase and had the figures there. But the thought of like navigating with 2 suitcases, a backpack, carrying on whatever else, that's what I mailed up. But this year, my autographs are more strategic. They're all WWE World, with the exception of one item that I'm getting signed by 2 people, one at WWE World and one at WrestleCon. And like I said earlier, with the WWE wrestlers, they'll do photo ops usually at the WWE's big pay-per-views. They don't usually have autographs, available. And if they do, it's like a paid appearance it's like a free appearance from Wheatley Vodka or something, where you don't know if you're going to be able to get an autograph or not. And if you do, sometimes it's just on what they have. So the autographs I'm getting are from big names, not ones that are easy to come by. Brandy Rhodes, who's not with WWE, but her husband is Cody Rhodes, and they have a 2-pack together that I'm getting signed by both of them. Chelsea Green just had 2 new figures come out. She is Major Pot adjacent. She's also one of my favorite wrestlers. She's one of my daughter's favorite wrestlers. So I have 2 things to get there. Randy Orton is someone who I've never met before. So I'm getting a photo out with him, and I'm getting a figure signed. And then Jey Uso, Bailey, Joe Hendry, Daniel's favorite. And then Kofi Kingston is actually the only person I'm getting something to sign that's not a figure. I bought from WWE about 6 years ago. They were selling on their old auction website the banners that hang on light poles.
Oh wow!
When they're in town. So I have a 2019 SummerSlam banner of Kofi Kingston, and that was during his, I would say it was a historic WWE championship reign.
Kofi Mania.
Yeah, right. But so the banner I have is from his successful title defense at Summer. Well, I think it was a draw, but regardless, so I have that from SummerSlam, so I'll get that signed. Awesome. But so I agree. I don't want to tote around, go to WrestleCon, run around like a chicken with my head cut off with 6 bags. I'm really going for names that I couldn't otherwise get.
So can I ask you guys a quick question?
Go for it.
Who are you both most excited to first picture or first meets with?
I'll let you go first, Marcus.
My two first meets that I have a picture with The Miz. I've actually met him twice. Both times the picture was like a quick on the outside an event, and it's really blurry. And he's a wrestler that I've liked for a long time since I also am a fan of the Real World and Road Rules. So getting a picture with him is something I've been after for a while. And then Randy Orton. Randy Orton, I would say, is arguably one of the 5 biggest name wrestling wise that I've never met before. So that's someone who last year I really wanted to meet. He sold out, and this year I wasn't going to let that happen.
Nice. So for me, I would say first off is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's one that Daniel, you and I are both getting a picture together with. He's one of the Mount Rushmore of names that I've never gotten a picture with. So I'm very, very excited for that one. I'd say additionally, I mean, Marcus mentioned The Miz. I've never gotten a picture with The Miz before. He's one that's been around forever. Huge fan of his. So really excited for that. The Hardy Boys. So they just added the Hardy Boys this past weekend, like a last minute ad or whatever. I have a picture with them from 1998. So it's a young Jeff Seltzer, young Jeff Hardy, and a young Matt Hardy. Yeah. So excited to have one, 28 years later that I can kind of put next to it and kind of compare it and look at it. I mean, outside of that, I mean, it's mostly all new guys. I mean, Cody Rhodes is a great story, I think, too, in the fact that, Daniel, if you remember, you and I were supposed to meet Cody about 4 years ago at an AEW wrestling event. And that was in the COVID-ish era. I think he got exposed to COVID or something happened. Yep, there was the big Cody head that we got at that wrestling show, as Daniel's holding up there. So we were supposed to meet Cody. It was like $70. Cody meet and greet before the show. They pulled him, but instead they gave us Mark Henry, Thunder Rosa, and Sean Dean. So I mean, at the time it was a fair trade-off, I think. And for 70,
Sean Dean, don't forget the captain.
I apologize, the captain Sean Dean. For $70 for the 3 of them was a great deal.
Yeah.
Looking at the price of Cody now, I wish I'd gotten Cody 4 years ago because that would have obviously had a better ROI. But obviously this is 4 years later than I wanted it, but very excited for this Cody picture.
And actually, now that I think about it, any space in your spare suitcase to get this ordered for me?
I'll attach an air tag to it and make sure it gets out there with Marcus and stuff too, which would be great. Last question that I think we'll probably call it a day. So Marcus, I know at the World they have very specific limitations on what types of bags you can carry into the building. I had a mild heart attack when I read that because I had to go out onto Amazon and buy what I would call not the greatest looking clear backpack to bring it in there. So when it comes to bringing action figures and such like that, are you allowed to bring crates in that are not clear with action figures, or do you know what the regulations are?
So from what I had this conversation with multiple people, and one of my friends said that last year there was also a clear bag policy, but it wasn't enforced. I mean, so I can't tell you what's going to happen this year. That is one of my biggest stressors right now. On Friday, I have 10 figures I'm getting signed. And with the clear bag restrictions, I don't know how that's going to work. There's definitely, if you read online, though, it doesn't say that you can only bring in one bag. So my plan is I will have 2 clear bags. And I also bought the same not fashionable clear backpack. And I think I should be able to get 2 in the backpack, 4 in each bag, and be fine. But that is one of my biggest stressors right now, is toting around 10 figures for 5.5 hours.
Right. So I think what Daniel and I will benefit from is the fact that you'll be at the World before we will. So your first appearance there will be on Thursday. We're not going till Friday. So we can learn from your experiences, hopefully. I mean, I'm going to bring a clear bag and a not clear bag to Vegas. And if you tell me, yep, they didn't enforce it and whatever else like that, I could swap to the other one. Largely because for me, especially on Friday, going from the World in the morning to GCW all afternoon and evening, I need a bag of some kinds, because even if I don't buy anything at the World, I'm going to need a bag to carry around whatever I buy at the collective. So I'm going to be doubly prepared, but obviously I'll be looking to learn from your experiences on Thursday.
I'm happy to educate.
Cool. Thank you so much. With that said, we are running late in time. Marcus, Daniel, as always, thank you so much for joining. Marcus, I know you have the most plugs of anybody on the show, maybe second to me. I'm not really sure. So Daniel, I'll let you go first if you want to shout out anything or talk to anybody on this one.
Yeah, no, just thank you again for having us. Looking forward to spending a fun week in Vegas together. So I'll give you guys the time to plug your plugs.
Awesome. Marcus?
Also looking forward to Vegas.
thank you for putting this together. I mean, we joke around all the time, but you know how much I do love coming on and chatting. All right, my plugs. First off, if you want to buy any of the cards that I showed earlier, feel free to DM me on Instagram or X, and make sure you use promo code Everybody Has a Story. Those handles on both Instagram and X are at Marcus B Breaks. On eBay, it's at Marcus Brandon Breaks, and on Whatnot, as it says on screen, it's at Marcus Brandon. That's my real plug. Right after this episode airs, when I get back from WrestleMania, AEW Alert 2026 will be out. I actually am getting it when I'm away, so I'll have a couple of case breaks of that. So if that is something that's up your alley, please give me a follow. Check out the breaks. It's always a good time.
Awesome. Thank you. And maybe one day we can get it so all of your handles are the same. We have to buy out the other Marcus Brandons out there, or try to simplify it however we can.
We need to get character limit expansions on some, but I'll work on this for my next pod appearance.
Very cool. Very cool. So we have some homework, and your next pod appearance will be probably like in early May when we recap this. So you don't have much time.
I have a month. I have a month.
Okay. So as always for me, all of my handles are Everybody Has a Story Pod. So this will be pretty simple. On Instagram, you can always find the show at Everybody Has a Story Pod. YouTube is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can reach out to the show directly on email at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com for all things Jeff Seltzer. You can always check me out at jeffseltzer.com. The website for the show, which has some cool content on it, is everybodyhasastorypod.com. We're on all podcast platforms, as you probably know. Video on Spotify and YouTube, audio on Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else. With that said, have an amazing week. Again, we're going to be in Vegas all this week, experiencing it all. Next week, I have a really great episode with Joanna Rodriguez. Really excited to share that with everybody, as we'll be talking about her and my previous journeys through unemployment, trying to find a new job, the highs and the lows, things like that. So I think that's something that's very evergreen that a lot of people can relate to. So definitely have an amazing week. Reach out. I'll try to post some pictures throughout the week on Instagram and other places of our time in Vegas. But with that said, have a great time, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer.